As the title suggests, also creaky headphones for the win, I suppose. As the title suggests, in this I will be reading to you the second part of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Hopefully you'll enjoy it again, honey. And, yeah, please do have a great rest if you listen to me and fall asleep. That'd be greatly appreciated, by the way. Someone did recently tell me they fell asleep to my ASMR yesterday, to which I say, wow, I don't think I ever really knew that happened before. Of course it may happen to someone who's been listening to it, you know, but, yeah. But to have someone tell me about that is something I've never known. But, if you excuse me, darling, I will be moving windows. So I'm a professional swimmer, and I do things here. But my name is professional swimmer. Okay. And let me just bring this up, full screen it, and get ready, darling. Welcome in, Vitor. Okay. Stave 2. The first of the free spirits. When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark that looking out of bed he could scarcely distinguish the transparent window from the opaque walls of his chamber. He was endeavoring to pierce the darkness with his ferret eyes, when the chimes of a neighboring church struck the 4 quarters. So he listened for the hour. To his great astonishment, the heavy bell from the 6 went on from the 6 to 7, and from 7 to 8, and regularly up to 12, then stopped. 12. It was past 2 when he went to bed. To his astonishment, the heavy bell went on from 6 to 7, and from 7 to 8, and regularly up to 12, then stopped. 12. It was past 2 when he went to bed. Did I just repeat that? Yes, I did. The clock was wrong. An icicle must have gotten the works. 12. He touched the string of his repeater to correct this most preposterous clock. Its rapid little pulse beat 12 and stopped. Why, it isn't possible, said Scrooge. Oh, you missed my voice, darling. Well, don't worry. I'll be doing one of these tomorrow, too. That I have slept through a whole day and far into another night. It isn't possible that anything has happened to his son, and this is 12 at noon. The idea of being an alarming one, he scrambled out of bed and groped his way to the window. He was obliged to rub the frost off with the sleeve of his dressing gown before he could see anything. Rad. Darling, how are you doing? I always see you in Jess's streams, but never in mine. Also, pop opening ASMR. I will say that Twitch on mobile is, frankly, absolute trash. I remember being able to make very quick and very efficient clips on Twitch. And then all of a sudden they update it, and it takes 24 years for a little clip to load, and then you have to wait 24 years to add the clip, and by then it just doesn't, for some reason, work when you try to edit it, and then it just gets turned into a normal 30-second clip, and it doesn't completely take the scenes you wanted, and it just... What do they do over at Twitch? I am aware that they have a problem when it comes to bloated engineers who, frankly, I can't think of any feature they integrated to Twitch in the past 5 or 4 years that I've truly been amazed by. Wow, you got clips. So does YouTube. I mean, I do like the... So, when comparing it over YouTube, there are clear things I like. For example, I do like the better mod view and all the options that you have. And if you're administrator moderator? Or whatever type of moderator it is, I'm actually... I mean, amaze is the right word, but one of them is amazingly terrible. Well, like the, definitely not a elevated chat that the streamer can't see for some reason. Anyway, back to the story, darling. He was obliged to rub the frost off with the sleeve of his dressing gown before he could see anything, and could see very little then. All he could make out was that it was still very foggy and extremely cold, and that there was no noise of people running to and with a dull, or deep, dull, hollow, melancholy one. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside. Okay, why would you start two sentences with near identical, or start paragraph near identical sentence? Sounds horrible. Oh, that is weird, isn't it? I tell you, by hand, not the curtains at his feet, nor the curtains at his back, but those to which his face was addressed. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside. Again, repetitive sentence there. And Scrooge, staring up into a half-recumbent attitude, found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them. As close to it as I am now to you. And I am standing in the spirit at your elbow. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, viewed through some supernatural medium which gave him the appearance of having receded from the view, and being diminished to a child's proportions. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were very long and muscular, the hands the same, as if its hold were some uncommon strength. Its legs and feet, most delicately formed, were, like some upper members, bare. It wore a tunic of the tenderest bloom on its skin. The arms were, I just reread that, purest white, and round its waist was bound a lustrous belt, the sheen of which was beautiful. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand, and in singular contradiction of that wintry emblem, had its dress trimmed with summery flowers. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all this was visible, and which was doubtless the occasion of its using, in its duller moments, the great extinguisher for a cap, which it now held under its arm. Even this, though, when Scrooge looked at it with increasing steadiness, was not its strangest quality, for as its belt sparkled and glittered now in one part and now in another, and that was light one instant, and another time was dark, so the figure itself fluctuated in its distinctness, being now a thing with one arm, now with one leg, now with 20 legs, now a pair of legs without a head, now a head without a body, of which dissolving parts no outline could be visible in the dense gloom wherein they melted away, and in the very wonder of this, it would be itself again, distinct and clear as ever. Are you a spirit, sir, Whose coming was foretold to me? Asked Scrooge. I am. The voice was soft and gentle, singularly low. Well, that is a very low voice I did. Also, welcome in, Hazy. Have a good time now. I am. The voice was soft and gentle, singularly low, as if instead, being so close beside him, it were at a distance. Who and what are you? Scrooge demanded. I am the ghost of Christmas past. Long past? Inquired Scrooge, observant of its dwarfish stature. No, your past. Perhaps Scrooge could not have told anybody why, if anybody could have asked him, but he had a special desire to see the spirit in his cap, and begged him to be covered. What? Exclaimed the ghost. Would you so soon put out with worldly hands the light I give you? Is it not enough that you are one of those whose passions made this cap, and force me through whole trains of years to wear it low upon my brow? Scrooge reverently disclaimed all intention to offend, or any knowledge of having willfully bonneted the spirit at any period in his life. Then he made bold to inquire what business brought him there. Your welfare, said the ghost. Ah, welcome in, Santiago. Please, do relax, honey. Scrooge expressed himself much obliged, but could not help thinking what a night of unbroken rest would have been more conducive to that end. The spirit must have heard him thinking, for it said immediately, Your reclamation, then. Take heed. It put out its strong hand as it spoke, and clasped him gently by the arm. Rise and walk with me. It would have been in vain for Scrooge to plead that the weather and the hour were not adapted to pedestrian purposes, that bed was warm and the thermometer a long way below freezing, that he was clad but lightly in his slippers, dressing gown and nightcap, and that he had a cold upon him at that time. The grasp, though gentle as a woman's hand, was not to be resisted. He rose, but finding that the spirit made towards the window, clasped his robe in supplication. I am mortal, Scrooge remonstrated, and liable to fall. Bear but a touch from my hand there, said the spirit, laying it upon his heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall, and stood upon an open country road, with fields on either side. The city had entirely vanished; not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold, wintry day, with snow upon the ground. Good heavens, said Scrooge, clasping his hands together as he looked about him. I was bred in this place. I was a boy here. The spirit gazed upon him mildly. Its gentle touch, though it had been light and instantaneous, appeared still present to the old man's sense of feeling. He was conscious of 1,000 odors floating in the air, each one connected with 1,000 thoughts and hopes and joys and cares long, long forgotten. Your lip is trembling, said the ghost. And what is that upon your cheek? Scrooge muttered, with an unusual catching in his voice, that it was a pimple, and begged the ghost to lead him where he would. You recollect the way? Inquired the spirit. Remember it, cried Scrooge with fervor. I could walk it blindfold. Strange to have forgotten it for so many years, observed the ghost. Let us go on. They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, its church, and winding river. Some shaggy ponies were now seen trotting towards them, with boys upon their backs, who called to other boys in country gigs and carts, driven by farmers. All of these boys were in great spirits and shouted to each other until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to hear it. "But these are shadows of the things that have been," said the ghost. Wrong voice. "They have no conscience of us." The jocund travelers came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named them every one. Why was he rejoiced beyond all bounds to see them? Why did his cold eye glisten, and his heart leap up as they went past? Why was he filled with gladness when he heard them give each other Merry Christmas? And as they parted at crossroads and byways for their several homes, what was a Merry Christmas to Scrooge? Out upon Merry Christmas, what good had it ever been, or ever done to him? "The school is not quite deserted," said the ghost. "A solitary child neglected by his friends is left there still." Scrooge said he knew it, and he sobbed. There left the high road by a well-remembered lane, and soon approached a mansion of dark red brick, with a little weathercock-surmounted cupola, and on the roof a bell hanging in it. It was a large house, but one of the broken fortunes, for the spacious... Oh, I got burp. Excuse me, just a second, darling. But one of the broken fortunes, for the spacious offices were little used, their walls were damp and mossy, their windows broken, their gates decayed, fowls clucked and strutted in stables, and the coach-houses and sheds were overrun with grass. Nor was it more retentive of its ancient state within, for entering the dreary hall and glancing through the open doors of many rooms, they found them poorly furnished, cold and vast. There was an earthly savour in the air, and chilly bareness in the place which associated itself somehow with too much getting up by candlelight, and not too much to eat. Oh, the Casa has a moat. Oh, that's a good moat if you ever seen one. They went, the ghost and Scrooge, across the hall to a door at the back of the house. It opened before them, and disclosing a long, bare, melancholy room, made barer still by the lines of plain deal forms and desks. At one of these a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire, and Scrooge sat upon a form and wept to see his poor forgotten self as he used to be. Not a latent echo in the house, not a squeak and scuffle from the mice behind the paneling, not a drip from the far-thawed water-spout in the dull yard behind, not a sigh among the leafless burrows of one despondent poplar, not the idle swinging of an empty storehouse door, no, not a clicking of the fire, but fell upon the heart of Scrooge with a softening influence, and gave a freer passage to his tears. The spirit touched him on the arm, and pointed to his younger self. Intent upon his reading, suddenly a man in foreign garments, wonderfully real and distinct to look at, stood outside the window, with an axe struck to his belt, and leading by the brindle, an ass laden with wood. Why, it's Alibaba. Oh, let me try and do a voice. Why, it's Alibaba, Scrooge explained in ecstasy. It's dear old honest Alibaba. Yes, yes. I know. One Christmas time when yonder solitary child was left here all alone, he did come for the first time. Just like that, poor boy and Valentine, said Scrooge and his wild brother Orson. There they go, and what's his name?
Nice.
Who was put down in his drawers asleep at the gates of Damascus. Don't you see him? And the Sultan's groom turned upside down by the Jenny. There he was, upon his head, serve him right. I'm glad of it. What business had he to be married to the princess? Ooh, I have a follow. Thank you, darling, for the follow. It's very much appreciated. Also, let me try and find an emote here. It's a great emote by someone I recently found to enjoy. They don't do ASMR, but they have great emotes. Here they are. Absolutely great emotes, with I think you can guess my favorite, by the way. This being my favorite. But yes, thank you very much for the follow. Let me scroll down. To hear Scrooge expending all the earnestness of his nature on such subjects, it was a most extraordinary voice between laughing and crying, and to see his heightened and excited face would have been a surprise to his business friends in the city, indeed. There's the parrot, cried Scrooge, green body and a yellow tail, with a thing like lettuce growing out of the top of its head. There he is, poor Robin Crusoe, he called him. Then he came home again after sailing round the island. Poor Robin Crusoe, there have you been, Robin Crusoe. The man thought he was dreaming, but he wasn't. It was the parrot, you know. There goes Friday, running for his life to the little creek. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hoop, halo. Then, with a rapidity of transition very foreign to his usual character, he said in pity for his former self, poor boy, and cried again. I wish, putting his hand upon his pocket and looking about him after drying his eyes with his cuff. But it's too late now. What's the matter? Asked the spirit. Nothing, said Scrooge. Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something, that's all. The ghost smiled thoughtfully and waved his hand, saying it as it did so. Let us see another Christmas. Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the room became a little darker and more dirty. The panels shrunk, and the windows cracked, and the fragments of plaster fell out of the ceiling, and naked laughs were shown instead. But how all this was brought about, Scrooge knew no more than you do. He only knew that was quite correct, that everything had happened so, that there he was, alone. There all the other boys had gone home for the jolly holidays. He was not reading now, but walking up and down desperately. Scrooge looked at the ghost, and with a mournful shaking of his head, glanced anxiously towards the door. Ah, welcome in, Pastel darling. Thank you so much for coming. Today, as you can tell, I'm reading A Christmas Carol, and I do hope you're having a wonderful time, and if you so like, you can fall asleep to me. It's no problem. Oh, again. Shmoo. Is a certain cat boy streaming right now. Oh. Kane wanted to say good Abend. Well, thank you, Kane. And tell Kane I said the same, darling. But do have a good time, Pastel. And you too, Brad. Let go find the page again. It opened, and a little girl, much younger than the boy, came darting in, and putting her arms around his neck, and often kissing him, addressing him as her dear, dear brother. "I have come to bring you home, dear brother," said the child. Oh, I have to do that voice. "I've come to bring you home, dear brother," said the child, clapping her tiny hands and bending down to laugh. "To bring you home, home, home. Home, home, little fan," returned the boy. "Yes," said the child, brimful of glee. "Home, for good and all. Home, for ever and ever. Father's so much keener than he used to be. That home's like heaven. He spoke so gently to me one dear night while I was going to bed, that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you would come home, and he said yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. And you're to be a man," said the child, opening her eyes. "And are never to come back here, but first we are to be together all the Christmas long, and have the merriest time in all the world." "You are quite a woman, little fawn." "A little fan," exclaimed the boy. She clapped her hands and laughed, and tried to touch his head, but being too little, laughed again, and stood on tiptoe to embrace him. She began to drag him in her childish eagerness towards the door, and he, nothing to loath to do, accompanied her. A terrible voice in the hall cried, "Bring down Master Scrooge's box." There, and in the hall appeared the schoolmaster himself, who glared at Master Scrooge with a ferocious condescension, and threw him in a dreadful state of mind by shaking hands with him. He then conveyed him and his sister into the veriest old well of a shivering best parlor that he ever was seen, where the maps upon the wall and the celestial and terrestrial globes in the windows were waxy with cold. Here he produced a decanter of curiously light wine and a block of curiously heavy cake, and administered installments of these dainties to the young people, at the same time sending out a meagre servant to offer a glass of something to the postboy, who answered that he thanked the gentleman, but if it was the same tap he had tasted before, he had rather not. Master Scrooge's trunk being by this time tied to the top of the chaise, or chaise, the children bade the schoolmaster good-bye right willingly, and, getting into it, drove gaily down the garden sweep. The quick wheels dashed the hoar frost and the snow off the dark leaves of the evergreens like spray. "Always a delicate creature, whom a breath might be withered," said the ghost. "But she had a large heart." "So she had," cried Scrooge. "You're right. I will not gainsay it, spirit, God forbid." "She died a woman," said the ghost, and had, as I think, children." "One child," Scrooge returned. "True," said the ghost. "Your nephew." Scrooge seemed uneasy in his mind, and answered briefly, "Yes." Though they had but that moment left the school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city, where shadowy passengers passed and repassed, where shadowy carts and coaches battle for the way, and all the strife and tumult of a real city, where it was made plain enough by the dressing of the shops that here too was a Christmas time again. But it was evening, and the streets were lighted up The ghost stopped at a certain warehouse door and asked Scrooge if he knew it. "Knew it?" said Scrooge. "I was apprenticed here." They went in, a sight of an old gentleman in a Welsh wig, sitting behind a high desk, that, if he had been 2 inches taller, he must have knocked his head against the ceiling. Scrooge cried in great excitement, "Why, it's old Fezziwig! Bless his heart, it's Fezziwig alive again!" Old Fezziwig laid down his pen and looked at the clock, which pointed to the hour of 7. He rubbed his hands, adjusted his capacious waistcoat, laughed all over himself, from his shows to his organ of benevolence, called out in a comfortable, oily, rich, fat, jovial voice, "Yo-ho there, Ebenezer, Dick." Scrooge's former self, now a grown young man, came briskly in, accompanied by his fellow apprentice, Dick Wilkins, to be sure. Sorry, wrong voice. Dick Wilkins, to be sure, said Scrooge to the ghost. "Bless me, yes, there he is. He was very much attached to me, Dick, poor Dick, dear, dear." "Yo-ho, my boys," said Fezziwig. "No more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up," cried old Fezziwig, with a sharp clap of his hands, "before a man can say Jack Robinson." You wouldn't know how those 2 fellows went at it. They charged into the street with the shutters, 1, 2, 3, had them up in their places, 4, 5, 6, barred them and pinned them, 7, 8, 9, and came back before he could have got to 12, panting like racehorses. "Hilly-ho!" cried old Fezziwig. "No problem, Vitor. You just lurk and have your fun." Skipping down from the high desk with a wonderful agility, "Clear away, my lads, and let's have lots of rooms here. Hilly-ho, Dick, chirrup, Ebenezer." No problem with that, hon. College work goes before cutie just reading a story. Clear away. There was nothing they wouldn't have cleared away, or couldn't have cleared away, with old Fezziwig looking on. It was done in minutes. Every movable was packed off, as if it were dismissed from public life forevermore. The floor was swept and watered, the lamps were trimmed, fuel was heaped up upon the fire, and the warehouse was as snug and warm and dry and as bright as a ballroom. Oh, you really love that moat, Vitor. As you would desire to see upon a winter's night. In came a fiddler with a music book, went up to the lofty desk and made an orchestra of it, and turned like 50 stomach aches. In came Mrs. Fezziwig, like one vast substantial smile. In came the 3 Miss Fezziwigs, beaming and lovable. In came 6 young followers, whose hearts they broken. In came all the young men and women employed in the business. In came the housemaid with her cousin, the baker. In came the cook with her brother's particular friend. That's been suspect, particular friend, the milkman. In came the boy from over the way, who suspected of not having board enough from his master, trying to hide himself behind a girl from next door, but the one who was proved had her eyes pulled by her mistress. In they all came. Let me scroll down. One after another, some shyly, some boldly, some gracefully, some awkwardly, some pushing, some pulling. In they all came, anyhow and everyhow. Anyway, away they all went, 20 couple at once, hands half round and back again the other way, down the middle and up again, round and round in various stages of affectionate grouping. Old top couple, who always turning up in the wrong place. New top couple starting off again as soon as they got there. All top couples at last, and not a bottom one, oboe, to help them. When this result was brought about, old Fezziwig, clapping his hands to stop the dance, cried out, "Well done!" And the fiddler plunged his hot face into a pot of porter, especially provided for that purpose, but scorning rest upon his reappearance, he instantly began again, though there were no dancers yet, as if it were the other fiddler who had carried home, exhausted, on a shutter. There were brand new men resolved to beat him out of sight or perish. There were more dances and more forfeits and more dances, and there was cake, and there was negus, and there was a great piece of cold roast, and there was a great piece of cold boiled, and there were mince pies and plenty of beer. But the great effect of the evening came after the roast and boiled, when the fiddler, an awful dog, mind, the sort of man who knew his business better than you or I could have told him, struck up Sir Roger de Coventry. Then old Fezziwig stood to dance with Mrs. Fezziwig. Top couple too, with a good stiff piece of work cut out for them, 3 or 4 or 20 pairs of partners, people who would not be trifled with, people who would dance and had no notion of walking. But if there had been twice as many, 4 times, old Fezziwig would have been a match for them, and soon Mrs. Fezziwig, as to her, she was worthy of being his partner in every sense of the term. If it was not high praise, tell me higher. Oh. No problem, Shmoo. Have a good night's rest. Okay, be well, Shmoo. And remember to drink your water and try to rest well, hon. Bye-bye. If you want me to do any redeem before you go, feel free to redeem it. Twice as many. No, let me find out where it's reading. Read that. Okay, reading from this point. But if not been as twice as many, 4 times, old Fezziwig would have been a match for them, and so would Mrs. Fezziwig. As to her, she was worthy to be his partner in every sense of the term. If that's not high enough, or high praise, tell me higher, and I'll use it. A positive light appeared to issue from Fezziwig calves. They shone in every part of the dance like moons. You couldn't have predicted it. At any time, that would have become them next, and old Fezziwig and Mrs. Fezziwig had gone all for the dance. Advance and retire, both hands to your partner, bow and curtsy, corkscrew, needle the thread, and back again to your place. Fezziwig cut so deftly that he appeared to wink with his legs, and came upon his feet again with a stagger. When the clock struck 11, the domestic ball broke up. Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig took upon their stations, one on either side of the door, shaking hands with every person individually as he or she went out, wishing him or her a Merry Christmas. When everyone retired to pretenses, they did the same to them, and thus the cheerful voices died away, and the lads were left to their beds, which were under counter in the back shop. During the whole of this time, Scrooge acted like a man out of his wits. His heart and soul were in the scene, and with his former self he corroborated everything, remembered or enjoyed everything, and underwent the strangest agitation. It was not until now, when the bright faces of his former self, and Dick, were turned from them, that he remembered the ghost, and became conscious that it was looking full upon him, while the light upon his head burnt very clearly. "A small matter," said the ghost, "to make these silly folks so full of gratitude." "Small," Scrooge echoed Scrooge. The spirit signed to him to listen to the two apprentices who were pouring out their hearts in praise of Fezziwig. When he had done so, said, "Ah, why is it not? He has spent a few pounds on your mortal money. 3 or 4, perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves his praise?" It isn't that," said Scrooge, heated by the remark, speaking unconsciously like his former, not his latter self. "Isn't it? Or it isn't that, the spirit. He has the power to render us happy and unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or toil, say it his power lies in words and looks, in things so slight and insignificant that it is not impossible to add and count them. What then? The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it had cost a fortune." He felt the spirit glance, and he stopped. "What is the matter?" asked the ghost. "Nothing in particular," said Scrooge. "Something, I think," the ghost insisted. "No," said Scrooge. "No, I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now, that's all." His former self turned down the lamps as he gave utterance to the wish, and Scrooge and the ghost again stood side by side in the open air. "My time grows short," observed the spirit. "Quick." It was not addressed to Scrooge, or to any one whom he could see, but it produced an immediate effect. For again Scrooge saw himself. He was older now, a man in the prime of his life. His face had not been so harsh and rigid lines of latter years, but had begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. There was an eager, greedy, restless motion in the eye, which showed the passion that had taken root, and where the shadow of the growing tree would fall. He was not alone, but sat by the side a fair young girl in a morning dress, in whose eyes there were tears, which sparkled in the light that shone out of the ghost of Christmas past. "It matters very little," she said softly. "To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve." "What idol has displaced you?" he rejoined. "A gilded one." "This is the even-handed dealing of the world," he said. "There is nothing on which is so hard as poverty, and there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth." "You fear the world too much," she answered, gently. "All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of the sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you, have I not?" "What then?" he retorted. "Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not charged toward you." She shook her head. "I am. Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so. Until a good season, we could provide our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man." "I was a boy," he said impatiently. "Your own feeling tells you that you are not what you are," she returned. "I am, which promises happiness, when we are one in heart, is fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and how keenly have I fought these? I will not say it is enough that I have heard of it, and can release you." "Have I ever sought release?" "In words, no, never." "In what then?" In a changed nature and altered spirit, in another atmosphere of life, another hope as it is great end, in everything that has made my love of any worth or... welcome, churn thy brother. I hope you've been good, hon. I am currently reading A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, so please do enjoy it and rest. And if you have any ASMR redeems you want me to do, please do so, hon. I do ASMR, and as you can tell, I have redeems, and right now I'm just reading a wonderful story. So, again, please do enjoy yourself, honey. In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in another atmosphere of life, hope, another hope as its great end, in everything that made my love any worth or value in your sight. If this had been between us, said the girl, looking mildly, but with steadiness upon him, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me now? Ah, no. He seemed to yield to the justice of his supposition in spite of himself, but he said with a struggle, you think not. I would gladly think otherwise, if I could, she answered. Heaven knows when I have learned the truth like this. I know how strong and irresistible it must be. But if you were to free today, tomorrow and yesterday, can even I believe that you would choose a dower's girl? You who, in your very confidence with her, weigh everything by gain, or choosing her, if for a moment you are false enough by one of your guiding principles to do so, do I not know your repentance and regret would surely follow? I do. And I release you with a full heart for the love of him you once were. He was about to speak, but with her head turned from him, she resumed, you may, from the memory of what is past half makes me hope you will, have pain in this, a very, very brief time, and you will dismiss the recollection of it, gladly as an unprofitable dream, from which it had happened well that you awoke. May you be happy in the life you have chosen. She left him, and they parted. Spirit, said Scrooge, show me no more, conduct me home. Why have you the light to torture me? One shadow more, exclaimed the ghost. No more, cried Scrooge. No more. I do not wish to see it. Show me no more. Also, churn thy butter. If you like, I do have a YouTube, and if you'd like to subscribe to there, I do place all my VODs I have onto that. Maurice, darling, welcome in. I have been streaming for a little bit, but oh so welcome in, hon. Please do relax. I'm reading A Christmas Carol. And if you have any ASMR, of course, I can do anything you want. Nearly. Also, I'm going to add a good boy and bad girl after this. So if you want, you can just type in chat, good boy or good girl, and just redeem, or bad boy and bad girl. And I can do them. Now, do you want me to do these with a good boy or bad boy? I can do either. Do you want good? Fine. I'll increase my gain. Let me increase the gain to ungodly amounts. Oh, it already is increased to ungodly amounts. Good. I'll turn down this. Maurice. Being such a good boy. Good boy. You know, I saw you doing the thing on Twitter for CSGO. I don't recollect what exactly it was, but I do hope it goes well for you, honey. Just be a good boy. Enjoy it all. Okay. enjoy all the positive attention that comes from it, because I know you're a good boy at heart. Though you probably have a alternative account to which you are certainly a bad, bad boy. But I won't speak of that just for now. Okay? For now, we will speak about you being a good, good boy. A good, enjoy yourself. Do you want me to put your head against my chest? Pet your head, play with your ear and whisper, good, good boy. As a campfire is in the background, if you want, the hug routine works too. And I can whisper into your ear all wonderful things. Maurice, Maury, good, good Maury. Well, blush harder. Or else grab the bottle of L-U-B-E. But for now, just relax. Oh, yes, Maurice. I won't further elaborate as to what we do with the bottle of a certain substance, but we'll just keep it as is. Won't that be grand, darling? Tell me, have you ever had your ears played with? You need to. You oh so need to. Just imagine. Oh, if you want, you can redeem a hug and I can do a special thing right now. I can do a very, very special thing for you, dearest Maurice. Dearest good boy Maurice. Okay, okay. Okay, I don't have to burp. Let me just move this cable. Place you on my chest now, darling. You know, Maurice, I really do enjoy our time together. With your head on my chest. I can even put you on my lap if you want to, but that's probably too lewd. And I just enjoy petting your hair, seeing you relax, with your eyes closed, saying ooh, ooh, and rar. Because let's be honest, Smo has definitely turned you into a furry. Because that's how he is. But let's just relax, alright? Close your eyes. Think about the sunshine being warm. Oh, I forgot to put a blanket on you. Think about sunshine being warm. The warmth of the light. The warmth of the fire as it crackles in the background. Let me go increase that noise. The warmth of the fire in the background. You know, I just want you to be comfy, babe. So relax. Okay? Just relax. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. Just stomach noises. Oh, good to hear, Maurice. Good to hear. So, honey, how have you been? I hope you're both absolutely magnificent and found a wonderful new pair of eye eyes. Okay. Cute pair of eye eyes, perhaps with pandas or cats on them. I have a wonderful fuzzy pair, black and white with pandas up top. Just relax. Just relax. Now, honey. Oh, fine. I probably have to go into someone's server who we're both in, and I can then do stuff. Okay. Let me stretch there. Ooh, that got me a bit tired now. Now back to the story as I should be telling it. Burp. Let's see, read that. But the relentless ghost pinned him in both his arms. No problem. And forced him to observe what happened next. They were in another place, or another scene, another place. A room, not very large or handsome, but full of comfort. Near to the winter fire sat a beautiful young girl, so like that Scrooge believed it was the same, until he saw her, now a comely matron, sitting opposite her daughter. The noise in this room was perfectly tumultuous, for there were more children there than Scrooge in his agitated state of mind could count. And unlike the celebrated herd in the poem, there were not 40 children conducting themselves like one, but every child was conducting itself like 40. The consequences were uproarious beyond belief, but no one seemed to care. On the contrary, the mother and daughter laughed heartily and enjoyed it very much, and the latter, soon beginning to mingle in the sports, got pillaged by the young brigands most ruthlessly. What would I not have given to be one of them, though I never could have been so rude, no, wouldn't for the wealth of it, all the world have been crushed that braid hair and torn it away for the precious little shoe. I wouldn't have plucked it off, God bless my soul, to save my life, as to measuring her waist in sport. As they did, bold young brood, I couldn't have done it. I should have expected my arm to grow round it for a punishment and never come straight again, and yet I should have dearly liked, I own, to have touched her lips, to have questioned her, and she might have opened them, to have looked upon the lashes of her downcast eyes, and never raised a blush, to have let loose waves of hair, an inch of which would be a keepsake beyond price. In short, I would have liked, I do confess, to have the lightest license of a child, and yet to have been man enough to know its value. But now a knocking at the door was heard, and such a rush was immediately ensued that she, with a laughing face and plundering dress, was borne towards the center of a flushed and boisterous group, just in time to greet the father, who came home attended by a man laden with Christmas toys and presents. Then the shouting and struggling. Ah! My Twitter post, I will have you know, nor is not suspect in any manner. Okay? Oh, don't worry, Nor. I was doing some wonderful ASMR for a cutie just a moment ago. And for those who haven't seen my wonderful post, I'll add it to the scene, okay? Okay, edit, add layer, image. Okay, it is not sus at all. Also, I'll ask you a question in just a moment, Maurice, because I did something with this model and I'm not sure if it's correct. I probably have a better chance of just Googling it, but okay. Okay, chat. Tell me. This is not sus, okay? None of this is sus. Milky Mommy, how is, you blushy face people. Milky. Felix, what the fuck? In my defense, I was talking of Crunchy. Milky, is that really a defense? No. Correct. Now what will you do, Mommy Milk? Puppy eyes. See? It is not sus, okay? Not sus. I definitely didn't send, actually I can add that to the screen, in just a second. I just need to take a screenshot of it. Let's see. Oh wait. There it is. And I definitely didn't, okay. Not sus, okay? Not sus. See, everyone agrees. Not sus in the slightest. Okay, let me just paste this photo here. Also, if anyone doesn't know, you can go to a website and just copy and paste an image and have it download. Very great, would recommend. Okay, and I definitely didn't center this GIF, okay? And yes, I say GIF. If you want to burn me on a pyre, feel free. Okay, I definitely didn't center this either immediately after. Nothing sus to be seen here, okay? I am not a sus person at all, okay? Okay, nothing sus. Because I definitely don't have a leash and collar you can put around my neck. As I sit on my knees so you can tug. I bet some of you like that greatly. Just show me my place as I am on my knees. Not sus at all, okay? Now let me just hide that one from the public. Oh. Oh, whoa. Is that what you want to do? I suppose some of you want me to do the same to you. Do you want to get on your knees, you bad boy? Oh, you want me to do the same to you, Nor? Ooh, what about you, Maurice? Do you want to get on your knees? I get the leash and collar. I can actually get right now and make some sound effects from it, but... cuties. Let me go find out where his last reading so I can finish the story and just do sussy ASMR too. Hola, hola, lulu. I don't care if I'm bottom. Well, there's no problem with that, Maurice. Well, I may be 99% bottom, but sometimes I just have the urge, you know. But now a knocking at the door was heard, and such a rush immediately ensued that she with a laughing face and plundered dress was borne towards it to the center of a flushed and boisterous group, just in time to greet the father who came home, attended by a man laden with Christmas presents and toys. Then the shouting and the struggling onslaught that was made on defenseless porter, the scaling him with ladders for chairs for ladders, to dive into his pockets, to spoil him of brown paper parcels, hold on tight by his cravat, hold him round his neck, pummel his back and kick his legs in irresistible affection, the shouts of wonder and delight with which the development of every package was received, the terrible announcement that the baby had been taken in the act of putting a doll's frying pan in his mouth, and was more than suspected of having swallowed the fictitious turkey glued to a wooden platter, the immense relief of finding this a false alarm. The joy and the gratitude and ecstasy that were all indescribable alike. It is enough that by degrees the children, with their emotions, got out of the parlor, and, one stair at a time, up to the top of the house, where they went to bed, and so subsided. Oh. There's no problem with that. Yes, Maurice, your emotes are beautiful, but by chance have you seen mine? I need a commission of licking emote, but I need to send a message on Twitter, and I'm too shy to send it because it's been 5 minutes since I last messaged them. And now Scrooge looked on more attentively than ever, when the master of the house, having his daughter leaning fondly on him, sat down with her and her mother at his own fireside, when he thought that such another creature, quite as graceful and full of promise, might have called him father, and been a springtime in the haggard winter of his life. His sight grew very dim indeed. "Belle," said the husband, turning to his wife with a smile, "I saw an old friend of yours this afternoon. Who was it? Guess." "How can I, Tot?" Don't I know?" she had the same breath, laughing as he did. Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it was not shut and he had a candle inside, I could scarcely help seeing him. His partner lies upon the point of his death, I hear, and there he sat alone, quite alone in the world, I do believe. Now, if anyone knows the Ohio feet looking emote, I asked that person, the very same person who drew that, to make one of my avatar, or my model, and they said yes. This was 9 months ago, before I had a model. Previously, when I commissioned a different person to make something, but they always got busy, and it's just been in the back of their mind, in the struggle that can be called reading back. There it is. "Spirit," said Scrooge in a broken voice, "remove me from this place." "I told you these were shadows of the things that have been," said the ghost. "That they are what they are, do not blame me." "Remove me," Scrooge exclaimed. "I cannot bear it." He turned to the ghost, and seeing that it looked upon him with a face, in which, in some strange way that there were fragments of all the faces it had shown him, wrestled with it. "Leave me, take me back, haunt me no longer." In the struggle, if that had been called a struggle in which the ghost, with no visible resistance of its own part, had undistributed by any effect of its adversary, Scrooge observed that its light was burning high and bright, and dimly connected with that, its influence over him. He seized the extinguisher cap, and by a sudden action pressed it down upon his head. The spirit dropped beneath it, so that the extinguisher covered its whole form. But though Scrooge pressed upon it with all his force, he could not hide the light, which streamed from underneath it, in a broken flood upon the ground. He was conscious of being exhausted. "You got the job?" "Whoa, fish boy." Now that is impressive. Say, fish boy. "Nico, darling, welcome in." "Also, congratulations for getting a job." "No, I haven't seen this ad." If it's on television, I don't watch television. Also, hi Nico, if you have any redeems you want me to do, feel free to do them. Or if you have a redeem that you want me to do, but I don't have, just write in chat and I'll gladly do it for you, darling. Because I do enjoy you, Nico. He was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by irresistible drowsiness, and further, of being in his own bedroom. He gave the cap a parting squeeze, in which his hand relaxed, and barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep. Basically, a girl comes in saying that she got the job, and her granny goes, "Oh, wonderful." And the girl goes, "Runs to the family," and they laugh. Really?
Nice.
Oh, thank you for the follow, darling. Thank you. Also, did the noise work for that? Or is the air noise? I can't quite remember. But thank you, darling, for the follow. Okay, good. Oh, let me crack my joints. Ew, God, all my joints are cracking. average in Ohio. I mean, it is Ohio. If any of you haven't seen the wonderful video, there's one called, I think, Average Day in Ohio. Absolutely beautiful. I can tell you a joke about a lesbian. It's very funny, don't worry about it. Oh, thank you, Maurice. Okay, before we get to the joke. Okay, Nico, do you want me to do your good boy right now? Or do you want me to, first tell a joke? I like your, Okay. A weird man said to the lesbian one day, "You know, you'll never get a boyfriend like that if you keep on having girlfriends." That was my joke. Now, Nico. Beautiful, beautiful Nico. Do you want to redeem hugs with that? Good boy too. And perhaps hat pats. I can laugh at my own joke, okay? I can laugh at it. Okay. Do you want to redeem hugs with that too? And hat pats. Ooh. Thank you, darling. Okay. Okay. I'll put you against my chest and give you the good, you know. Nico. You know, every time I see you, you always remind me of my family members. Mostly because on one side they're all Swedish and they all look the same. And I don't really have any Finnish family, but that's alright. But you know, Nico, every time I see you, you're always so generous, so kind. That's why you truly are a good boy. Except for what you do in DMs, but we won't speak about that today. Instead, I'll just call you a good boy. I'll give you this option. Do you want to rest your head against my lap? You know, be in my lap and have a wonderful time there. And I still give you headpats and call you a good boy. Or would you like to be against my chest and I will get over you? Mind you, both I'll get over you because you're such a nice, wonderful being. Oh, you played me. I might have to quickly change the title to, oh yeah, he is. Good boy ASMR. Good boy ASMR. Okay. Thighs. Oh, you and your, wonderful Ezra gremlin self. Okay. I'll put you on my thighs, darling, because that's where you want to be. Good. Please ignore all the noise outside. People with loud cars go burr. So tell me, Nico. You know, I wonder if I can put a say-so image of my thighs on stream. I could make that a tune plans. Darling Nico. Let me just pet your sweet head right now. Do you want a nice warm chocolate too? I'm making special with ginger, egg, hazelnut. I'll give it to you so you can enjoy a nice cup. relax here on my mouth, on my thighs rather, and just relax. Just be a good boy. Just be a good boy. Here. I'll give you a nice little kiss on your forehead. I'll continue to pet you for a little bit longer. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I don't have a good kiss right now, so I can't really do a good kiss. My apologies. But just continue being a good boy like normal. And relax, darling. Good boy. Goodest boy. Good boy. On a side note, Nico, have you ever seen someone say, "What?" For some reason, in some furry streams I've been watching, they've been saying that both in text and in voice. And I don't know why. Because I only heard Communic say it, and yeah. To see some furries say Communic and then "Wa" and "moi." It's a bit odd, you know. There, little kiss for you now. I hope you enjoyed that, darling, because you really do deserve it. No problem. My mother said I'd accomplished nothing being a fish in the well. She was right. Completely right in every way. No laugh from that one. People's edge. People's edge. Okay. Now. Okay, Maurice. You want the good boy head pats, purr, and hugs too? No problem. Okay. Ooh, let me change my posture because it's bad right now. I'm getting lower back pain. Okay. Now, Maurice, do you want to be in my thighs? Or do you want to be on my chest again? In a nice warm blanket. It's all caused from Maurice. Okay, Maurice gave me that lower back pain last night. I'll put you on my lap this time, darling. To the lap you go. To the lap you go. Okay. I know. If anyone wants to blame someone for my lower back pain, just blame Maurice. Okay. It was just too much last night. I won't get into too much detail though. But no, Maurice. You really are a good boy. And promo. Ooh. Nico. Are you listening to two people right now? That's good. Maurice, you're such a good boy, you know. Good boy. Good. can just sit here with you on my lap forever and just bang your head, kiss you on the forehead, perhaps somewhere lower. Just keep on calling you what you are. Good boy. Just continue being a good boy, Dylan. Okay. You got it, okay? You're good boy. Just continue being yourself, okay? Being all cute and kind, okay? That's all you gotta keep on doing. So keep on being you. And a kiss for you. Okay. Now. Oh, don't worry, Maurice. Ooh, rawr, XD nuzzles. To all the flat earthers out there, if the earth is flat, why do all my hopes and dreams go down the hill so fast? Well, the earth is really a round donut, okay? And donuts, more than a circle, more than a ball, more than an oblate spheroid, it's a circle, but round and cut out at the same time. I do a burp, but I mean, either of those isn't a problem. You just have to get on your knees. And we'll figure out the rest from there. But can't be too lewd here. No. Oh, don't worry, Maurice. You better be in your standard outfit right now. You shouldn't be wearing any clothes except for your thigh highs. Okay. Thigh highs. Lingerie. You probably look great in it, by the way. Here, let me do, woo-rar ludish ASMR, because that's what I originally started out with. Hope you're okay with that, everyone. Okay. I'll probably only do it for a few minutes longer, I'm afraid. Because if I'm too lewd, Daddy Bezos will come and make us all bottoms. Oh, whoa. Sus. There it is. I got that chaotic feedback, so I'll feel in your knuckles where I break your kneecaps. Daddy Bezos. Okay, Maurice. Okay. Maurice. You better not be wearing anything except for your fine highs lingerie panties. And your, arm warmers. Whatever they're called. Okay. Nothing else. Now, tell me, do you have a leash and collar at the ready? You better. Give me actually, I am my fine eyes. Good. I could probably get my tights on and do that too. I do have some tights and I can send you a old pic of it. But I'm sure if you really wanted to. Let me ask you this, Maurice. If you are currently wearing your thigh highs, okay? What else are you wearing? If it's only thigh highs, then oh whoa. Ah, yes. I do have a little oral fixation, if you will. So I do like licking things, whether it be ears. Welcome in, Moag. I don't know if I want to be... Moag, do you mind if I'm a bit sussy of a wonderful person? Also, thank you for coming in, Moag. I always enjoy you. But today we are being Longsus. Lessus. If anyone has any other languages they speak and they want to, okay. Now let me ask you, Maurice. Do you want licks, hickeys, kisses, all the way down from your lips, down to your toes, slowly going down your arms? Going down your chest, licking your chest. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. I'm sure you would. I'm sure you wouldn't mind at all. 'Cause sometimes you really do just gotta be licked all over. Lick, 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 lick. Or do you want to be on your knees, Maurice? With a collar around you and a leash in my hands, with you steadily looking up at me as I hold it in my hands and command you. Oh, blushing so much. My. I do hope that's not only it. Do you want to be called a bad boy when you're on your knees, or a good boy? I bet you want to be called all of it, don't you? Perhaps I could call you a good boy at first, until I hold you by your leash, take my hand and put on your chin, pull on your chin a little bit, force a kiss, perhaps, if you're into that. I do have to know what you're into, hon. And then I stare into your nice eyes. You want to. Okay. That all depends on sussy wussy, I suppose. Sussy wussy, mussy wussy. But how sus do you want to be? Do you want me to pet you on your head, call you a good boy at one moment, and then slightly tug in your leash? Sus. Maurice. I am a famussy. Well, that's certainly good to know. For context, that is. But I'll be as sus as you need to be. Oh my, using that smugger mode. Personally, I prefer the gasol mode by them, but I can't remember which one was actually made of their previous model. It has been a while. I remember they went from a 3D model to a 3D model to this 2D version. But I do enjoy Skywars content. is certainly true. Okay, let's hope it doesn't autoplay something bad. Ooh, hooterade. Sassy, sassy, wassy. Now, I'm not sure how loud they'll be, darling, but I'll probably rate them. Okay. I'll mute my mic for a minute. Here's me, sussy. Okay, I will rate a fellow sussy boy. Hopefully you all can, no problem worries, it's just sussiness, you know. And I will make this the wonderful, just say this, okay? Okay. Now, darling, please be good. Rest up. Lick what you want to lick, and do have a wonderful time. And that's what I'll leave you with. I don't see